Good afternoon. Hope everybody out there can hear me, and thank you very, very much for joining me this afternoon to talk about the next sort of phases as part of the Safe Start Washington phase reopening of the Washington's economy, which is the governor's sort of four-part phased approach, and want to just kind of share about what we're looking to do in our city and how that's going to be impacting our city as far as the next phase, which is phase 2. Right now, we're in phase 1. Before we do that, though, I just want to quickly share with you a couple of announcements today. First, our Parks Department is releasing its Play It Safe plan. And just to hold you up this little low-tech graphic here. And in this graphic, I think folks will be excited to know that once phase 2 happens, outdoor sports, including tennis, outdoor pickleball, basketball courts, petanque, and sand volleyball will all be allowed to happen, with the caveat that you need to be a group size of 5 or fewer people. But I wanted to share with you. I know a lot of folks have been asking about the dog park. That's going to happen in phase 3, so which is approximately 3 weeks after phase 2. And so in phase 3, we have the off-leash dog park. Another item people are asking a lot about: the playgrounds, permanent restrooms, play fields, the skate park, shelter rentals, and Francis Anderson Center. And the caveat with that is it will be for people that are group sizes of 50 or fewer. So those, that's going to be phase 3, which will be approximately 3 weeks after phase 2. So, but just want you to know we sort of have that planned out, laid out. The Parks Department is releasing this today, so we'll make this available on social media so you can see a better version than what I'm holding. Number 2, I just want to share with you a city program that we launched about a month ago and had to do with, I know there was a lot of questions, and I myself is one of those people as far as what can we do more to help our long-term care facilities and the folks that are there, those who are most vulnerable to this virus. So about a month ago, I reached out to Dr. Chris Spitters at the Health District, and I know that they are very short-staffed as far as the proactive ability to reach out to these facilities. And so I offered up some of our city staff if we could somehow do a sort of, a program where we basically contacted our facilities. And so our city staff met with their long-term care facility specialist, produced a set of questions, and we've been contacting 65 facilities every week now, and then providing feedback to the health district on those. And it's been very successful so far to date. So really happy about that effort. We've learned some information, which of course we've shared to the health district as we've discovered it. Also, the governor's office announced last week that they're going to be working with the health districts, requiring the testing of all of these facilities. And so stay tuned for a plan that the governor's office is going to be releasing as far as that, without any kind of COVID outbreak. So just mandatory testing of these places as a preventive and as a proactive measure, not as a reactive measure. So, and then the final announcement, and it has to do with really the big thing that I think a lot of people are waiting about, I know businesses are waiting about, is a lot of the retail business, the restaurant businesses' ability to safely reopen. So to help with that, we are going to be the city launching a program to help businesses safely reopen. And this will include a city staff that we're going to have repurposed and dedicated to providing information to the businesses. That includes some site visits, as well as other steps to make sure that when these businesses are open, that they are as safe as we can have them for our public. So with that, I'll get now into a little bit more about phase 2. I know probably the biggest question is when is it going to happen? We have heard it could be as early as June 1, it could be later. I don't have definitive information one way or the other as far as the exact date. We are making plans for June 1. I know a lot of people are. But I have not heard that as the date yet. I know that next week, the governor's office plans to release some more specifics as far as that, the requirements for getting into phase 2. I know there's been a lot of different kind of information that's running around out there, particularly about other counties and their phase 2 requirements, and we have to meet their phase 2 requirements. And I've talked to the governor's office, and that is not the case. They're a different criteria because the counties are opening up earlier. So they're held to a different standard than the standard that we're held to. So what metrics they're using is not necessarily going to be the same metrics that our county will be applied to. So, but that being said, when we have phase 2 reopening, the big things are going to be outdoor recreation, manufacturing, construction, those things where we do just domestic services, retail, real estate, professional services like hair and nails. That's right, the big one. Of course, restaurants. And particularly if we look into our restaurants, to give you kind of an idea, some of you may know this, I know a lot of the restaurants already do and already making plans for this, but what will the restaurants, for example, what will it look like if you're a customer going in there? So for starters, half of the capacity, the restaurant will be utilized. So, and tables will have to be 6 feet apart. The largest group size will be about 5 folks. Unfortunately, the bars will not be open. There will be staff that will be required to wear masks. There'll be hand sanitizer present. Menus will be in a paper form. There won't be any permanent menus. There'll be things like single-use condiments. There will be, of course, they'll have their employees that will be screened at every shift. And those criteria right there, those are kinds of things that our city is going to be working with them to make sure that they are aware and have those things in place. So a big question is, will you tell us if a restaurant is safe? And what we can say is that the business should be following sort of these best practices that I just described, and some other things both by the health district and the governor's office. And if they do, then they are in fact in compliance. What are the requirements for retail businesses? They're a little bit different. They also, though, will have reduced capacity in them. Employees will be required to wear masks. They'll have, sort of one directional aisles. So when you walk through, yeah. What is my responsibility as a business customer? So if you're going to go into these businesses, they're going to be reopened in phase 2. We ask that you wear a mask, that you maintain your social distancing of 6 feet. And most importantly, if you have any symptoms of feeling of any sickness, that you don't go to these businesses. And we've also sent out, our city has actually sent out a survey to residents, a community survey, basically asking 12 questions about what does a safe business look like to them. And we've already heard from 1,200 people. And in just 2 days, we've heard from 1,200 people sharing that information. So I think it's clear that people are very interested about making sure that these businesses, when they reopen, that they have these certain safety measures in place. And so we'll do what we can to help ensure that. Are these guidelines firm? These guidelines are for businesses, and the guidelines that are produced by the governor's office do get updated. We've seen that in the past. For example, we know that there was some requirements for restaurants, and they then changed it. So I wish to say it was permanent, but we know that they typically get updated, particularly as folks start to use them. A lot of these requirements are being used right now in other counties that have already started this phase. And so based on the feedback they get and how it works in practice, they'll probably make some fine tuning. So, but for right now, these are the only guidelines we have. So that's what we're relying on at this stage. What enforcement action will you take if someone is violating these guidelines? Well, if you look at our stay-at-home, the stay-at-home order issued by the governor's office, we primarily relied on voluntary compliance, and it was very effective. It has been very effective. Folks have done their part, and moving forward, that's really what we're going to be relying upon. Of course, our police department is out there, and they are, of course, responding to calls, and they are, where they need, contacting folks and educating people, letting them know what the regulations are, and help to assure people compliance. But really, it's going to be up to all of us to do our part to make sure that we are keeping everybody safe. And so, if you're going to go into these businesses, we strongly recommend that you're going to wear a mask, that you're going to maintain your social distancing. The businesses will be required, if they're going to be contacting customers, for example, they're also going to be required to wear a mask. What activities like whirly ball or movie theaters? When will those reopen? So and I should probably preface all these. The questions I'm reading are questions we've gotten in advance, and then as I go through those, I'll then transition to the sort of live questions that we're getting from all of you. So, so for those of you who are on right now, who are asking questions, you're wondering why haven't I gotten to them, I will. So right now we just got questions in advance from people, so I'm kind of going through those right now. So back to the movie theaters. So those are looking partially in phase 3, and then in fully open in phase 4. So basically it's, you know, at least 3 weeks from June 1. What should I do if I'm a business owner? So like I said, we're going to be going out there providing information, but in lieu of that, we'll also post information as far as what those business type guidelines are, depending on whether or not you're a retailer or a salon or a restaurant. What is the city doing to help me as a business owner? So one of the things, like I just mentioned, we're going to be providing information. We're going to be making sure folks are following those guidelines. We're also we've also put out a survey to get feedback that we're going to be sharing with everybody as far as what customers are looking for when those businesses safely reopen. And then on top of that, and let me just actually announce today, here it is. So this just came out, we've been waiting on this. So this is connected to the federal CARES recovery program, and the county, Snohomish County, has announced their small business relief recovery resiliency grant program. And it's a $25,000 grant that will be available to small businesses. That includes any business in our city. The criteria include being 20 or fewer employees, being in operation for a year, be able to show that they have lost 25% in reduction in revenue that's been attributed to this COVID-19 pandemic. They can't be a franchise, they can't be a chain, for example. So this is truly for small businesses. And so that's something that's available right now. We've already put that information out on our social media. We've also reached out to our local media to make sure businesses know. We've also reached out to business organizations to encourage them to apply for those grants, which then leads to, and we were sort of waiting for that because that leads to sort of what are we doing with the portion of the federal CARES grant funding for our city, which is $1.26 million. And part of that was sort of waiting to see what the county was going to do. And literally, they just announced this information this afternoon. So that's going to help us a little bit clarify that. We've also gotten some recent guidance from the State Department of Commerce yesterday. So stay tuned for more information about our portion of that. But for right now, definitely businesses can start applying for that grant today. And if I didn't say it already, the place you want to go to is one word, workforcesnohomish.org. That's workforcesnohomish.org. You can go right now. They have a little blinking red light up top, and you click on the grant, and you can apply for the grant as we speak. Are we required to wear masks when we leave the house? The key thing with masks is to make sure that, number one, that you're practicing social distancing. And so when you are coming into any sort of business, when you are coming to any groups of people, to maintain that social distancing. If you cannot maintain that social distancing, put on that mask. If you're going inside a building, put on a mask. And so that is really, and again, the mask is primarily so that you could be somebody who doesn't show any symptoms but have symptoms, and it's to prevent you from spreading that, right? That's really the primary purpose for you wearing these sort of cloth type of masks. The other kinds of masks, unfortunately, are really dedicated towards our first responders, our medical professionals, because there still is a shortage of those 95 types of masks. Our senior population, especially those in care facilities, are most vulnerable. What are you doing to help them? So I mentioned a little bit about sort of the contact program that we're doing for the city is doing. We're also part of our community and economic fund. We are providing funding to the senior center to reach out to seniors who to help them fund for meal delivery, as well as telecounseling with social work and a registered nurse. They know they've already distributed masks to people through that. And then we've actually put them in touch with our Snow Isle Library, because our Snow Isle Library is also contacting people on their membership lists. And so we want to make sure that the services that we're helping fund through the senior center are also getting added to the library lists. And so again, trying to inform people. And I would like our city to expand that. So I think stay tuned for some more ways about how we can expand contacting our seniors in our community about sort of resources that can be available to help them out. Where can I get mental health support? Right now, there are 2 organizations that we recommend in the county, and one of them is you can go to their website, projectaccessnw.org. That's projectaccessnw.org, and the other one is chs.nw.org. And you can also, our seniors, you can contact the Edmonds Senior Center, and that phone number is 425-774-5555. See, what else? I already talked about the Federal CARES grant. Let's see, tell me more. The Chamber, so part of the Chamber of Commerce Wish Funds, the latest, so this was created, the Chamber created this fund, and the city has provided approximately almost up to $100,000, up to $999,000.99, I think is the exact number, but we're providing money for that. So to date, I understand we've had at least 52 grants that have been issued through this Wish Fund, and this is for hiring local businesses to help other local Edmonds businesses during these really tough, challenging times with legal service, with graphic designs, with online shopping, all the kinds of things to help the businesses during this little tiny period. Let's see, I'm supposed to wear a mask but can't find one. That's another an announcement I'm happy to make. We have 2,000 masks, cloth masks that we have ordered and are coming. They should be here about a week and a half. So hopefully right at the time when we're gonna be hopefully in beginning just before phase 2, we will have about 2,000 masks available to give out to our residents. And so we'll have distribution places set up for you, and I'll be able to share hopefully more of that information with you next week. What will the city government look like when it reopens? Right now, it's going to, I think we all know it, a lot of things that we do and the way we do things are going to be different. All of our frontline staff will be wearing masks. And we'll ask you if you're coming into city buildings to also wear a mask. But we've also made things a lot more streamlined so that you may not have to come in. So today we have just debuted, for a lot of times you had to come in to file a building permit. Now you can go online. So you can go to mybuildingpermit.com or go to our city website at the City of Edmonds and go to and you can file a City of Edmonds building permit right online right now. So that's up and running, and that was operational today. So we're trying to transition to where we can provide online services to again prevent folks from having to come down, especially as we're sort of adjusting, phasing back into to reopening. What are some of the projects or programs that are now set back due to COVID that you're still really looking forward to when you become mayor? I'm looking forward to having a city where nobody's getting sick and dying. And anything else is on the back burner. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Are you going to close Main Street? Down Main Street. You know, we're getting a lot of feedback from that. We're getting a lot of good information from our citizens, from community leaders. We're getting feedback from businesses. I'm hearing from all of our council members in one form or another have expressed interest in this idea. So stay tuned for some formal announcement, but you better believe we're gonna definitely close down Main Street at some point for a pilot project, if you will, so we have a pedestrian safe experience for folks. But I don't want to say any more than that, but I'll just kind of say we're definitely working on something all around those lines. So we will definitely announce that in a more collaborative process in a little while. Why are you hiring new employees? And it references here the human services manager during a time when folks are hurting. Right now, we are only hiring people that are related to COVID-19 response. So right now, everyone else, we have hiring freezes on. So unless it's specific to COVID-19 related, so like police officers, we're still hiring those folks. Our human services manager is definitely helping those most in need, and we're seeing a lot more of those who have a lot of needs, and particularly with some of the programs we've now created. For example, the council recently approved a program to help folks who are not yet homeless, and so to help prevent them from getting homeless, and we're contacting with certain service agencies. So our human service manager right now is working on that project. So that's kind of, but that's generally where we're at on that. Why are the permanent public restrooms closed at parks and the beach? Yes, so the health district is, and I think we the city are definitely, it's a place where we're trying to make sure that we can clean them properly and maintain safety in close confined spaces. And so we do have a plan for open those restrooms, as I mentioned earlier in this thing. So that is going to be in our phase 3. So that's basically when we're doing it, but basically we're going to have them cleaned at least twice a day, and our staff have to be wearing full personal protective equipment when they're doing that. Let's see, the governor said tennis is allowable. Why are the city tennis courts still locked? The key is with this is that they have to be staffed tennis facilities, and unfortunately our courts, we don't have staff that can be there, so we can't enforce or look at who's playing them or how many are playing them. So that's why we're waiting to phase 2. So hopefully sometime in early June we'll then reopen the tennis courts. Why is the dog park still closed? Again, the CDC is very clear about off-leash dog parks. I think their actual language is avoid dog parks or public places where a large number of people and dogs gather. Do not let pets interact with people or other animals outside the household. So following the CDC's guidelines, that's what we are doing until phase 3. Why did you make the decision to close Yost Pool for the summer so early? Pools are very high-risk facilities, and they require highly trained lifeguards and staff. We don't have any aquatic staff on hand, so what we do is we work with the YMCA for personnel. Unfortunately, the virus COVID has caused the closure of their facilities, and the Y in turn has had to lay off their staff, and so this has caused a delay on multiple fronts. So it's going to take about 68 weeks to advertise, interview, and hire and train lifeguards. And this is all with the idea potentially of could we open the pool in August, which is just not really feasible right now. So we can't really open the pool without the trained staff, and that staff isn't available at this time. This is now a specific question that I have from Caitlin. As mayor, what are you doing now, and what will you do in the upcoming phases to uphold our First Amendment rights of assembly and religion? Catholic Church, specifically under guidance from the Archbishop, have deemed Governor Inslee's option of drive-in church services as inappropriate, as it compromises the integrity, sacredness, and reverence of our Catholic worship, and therefore are not able to offer Mass in person. I hear you, and I know this. We took a look at this letter from the church, and it does specifically speaks to communion as being the key reason. It also says that the church is going on to work with the governor's office to find ways for Mass that is appropriate with safeguards in place. Let's see here. Also from Caitlin, the Snohomish Health Department county website today lists only 109 cases of COVID in children 0 to 14 throughout the county. Of those lists, it lists no deaths in that age range. So my question is, why are the playground splash park still closed when the virus is clearly not a threat to children and the heat and sun has been proven to help kill the virus? Caregivers who are at high risk obviously may choose not to let their children use the playgrounds, but keeping them closed is an overreach by government not backed by science or data. Children are known to be carriers where they don't show symptoms and they can easily spread them. We know that this virus can definitely, there's a lot of physical contact at playgrounds. We know that there's a lot of as we know, we already have restrictions in place for how many gatherings of people. So we can't, number one, we can't it's very challenging for us to make sure that they're sanitary, clean, and also that we can keep those numbers of people in contact very low. So because of that, we are delaying the opening of the playgrounds until phase 3. So we will be opening them. And, you know, I think this sort of just touches on, and I think there's a couple other things where, you know, people feel right now that we're done with the virus and we're ready to go on and with our lives. But this virus isn't done with us. And we need to remember that, you know, activities that seem innocuous or harmless are very dangerous. In Skagit County, a choir in March met 60 people to sing. And they got together and they sang. And they sang for about 2.5 hours. During that, they also took some breaks. They had some snacks. They didn't shake hands. You know, they didn't touch anybody. You know, there wasn't any physical sort of touching or anything, but they sang together. And over 50 of them came down with the symptoms of the virus. 2 of them died for singing. So, you know, it's a very contagious virus. It can be a very deadly virus, particularly those of our population in our city, which over 9,000 of our residents, by their age alone, are already high risk. 9,000 of our residents, and so we need to always make sure that we're doing whatever we can to keep our most vulnerable safe from this virus. This one's from Evan. I would like to ask if you'd been working to help businesses buy bulk plastic barriers and identify other protective equipment required under the phase 2 reopening. Based on demand, much of the equipment would be potentially have needed to be purchased over a month ago to be delivered and installed in time for the June 1st reopening for some businesses. I would consider helping businesses with determining what, where, how to obtain equipment they need to reopen, being one of the most important things the city of Edmonds should be doing right now. This is not being done already. You should be proactively reaching out to every business to help them determine what equipment they will need and how they can obtain it. I would say at least 3 to 5 full-time staff should be dedicated to this through August, either temporarily adjusting duties or hiring from a staffing agency. You should be tracking a spreadsheet. If this is not possible to get staff in time, you should be immediately asking volunteers to help. The cost savings from buying in bulk and preventing delays to reopening could determine whether some businesses will be open again or have permanently shut down. So we have reached out to our businesses about doing bulk ordering. We've shared already the vendors that we've identified as a city as being reliable vendors in terms of providing personal protective equipment and other kinds of things that they would need for safety reasons. We've already reached out to, and we've worked with the vendor who's offered to provide a discount for bulk orderings. So we're going to reach out to the different business organizations to, you know, sort of again let them know of this service, and they can get a discount by ordering in bulk. But we do have to have some help with some of our business organizations out there to help coordinate, because it could be a variety of different kinds of orders coming in place, but we're absolutely working on that component. So just want to let you know that. Mr. Mayor, can you tell me what specific qualifications you have to take what the science and information about this virus tells us? Instead of merely keeping the public informed, you force private businesses to stay closed and deny people the shot at freedom to make their own educated choices. Simple question. I'm looking forward to your reply. Thanks. I take direction. Rephrase that. The decisions I am making or the guidance that I'm following is from our healthcare professionals, from the Snohomish Health District, from the Department of Public Health for the state of Washington, and using their guidance as far as steps that you should be taking to slow or prevent the spread of this virus. What would you do if a restaurant, I won't name the restaurant because it's just an example, but what would you do if a restaurant in downtown Edmonds opened up tomorrow? Our own county sheriff isn't enforcing the governor's mandate, which is the correct decision, but tell us exactly what would happen to the restaurant. Well, number one, I don't think it's the correct decision. You know, the restaurants are not opening for a reason right now, and as are, you know, other businesses. But if it would open tomorrow, you know, the first thing we do would, you know, contact the business just to make sure they're aware of that they need to have things in place, and if they're not supposed to be open, that they should not be open, that they're in violation of the governor's order. They also may be in violation of their liability insurance. So a lot of businesses have already been contacted by their insurance companies, let them know that if you open a business and there is a governor's declared emergency order to remain closed, and you open a business and something happens, you do not have any insurance coverage. So that's a sort of one way of sort of letting them know that it's not really in their best interest. I would also actively let folks know that this business is opening early and what they're doing is not safe, and it's not safe to the public, it's not safe for our citizens. So there's a wide range of options we can do, and I would definitely explore any and all of them to protect our public safety. This is from Malia. Will you mandate masks be worn in closed businesses, stores, restaurants, etc. in Edmonds? We're following the health district's guidance on masks, so we're strongly recommending that anybody who is going to any kind of enclosed building spaces to wear a mask to help prevent the spread of this virus, and to also maintain social distancing. And I think that's an important distinction here. Just because you have a mask on, it by itself is not, I think sometimes will give you that false sense of security, oh, that I can be very close to somebody. And no, you should still maintain social distancing. And so it's wearing a mask and maintaining that social distancing. Todd, when will the public restrooms be opening? This is a major limiting factor in following some people to venture out into the world as they reopen. So as we mentioned, we need to have them cleaned twice a day. We need to have full PPE. So we're looking at phase 3 to open up those those restrooms. Okay, so now I'm going to transition to live questions that we've gotten while I've been chatting with you all. So it says here, what do you mean you will test people at parks? I don't think if I said that, I didn't mean testing of people at parks. We will, I think maybe referring to the cleaning of the playgrounds, but there's no testing of any people at parks. So if I said that, I misspoke, and please disregard that. We've had some employees being paid to stay home, some working 25–30%, yet being paid full benefits. When will they all be back to work? So we are currently have staggered shifts. We are doing things to basically, so the answer to the first question is we're having most of our folks are following the stay-at-home order. So as the stay-at-home governor's order is lifted, we'll have many more folks coming back to work. We do have some folks that are teleworking. I think the challenge that folks don't realize is that we are trying to provide essential city services. And so to ensure that continuity of government, to ensure that we provide essential city services, we have had to stagger shifts so that if there's an outbreak, that you don't take out the entire public works crew, you don't take out the folks who are operating our wastewater treatment plant. So for example, because if you have that happen, you have nobody maintaining that, you're gonna have a sewage problem, you're gonna have pipe failures, you're gonna have floods, you're gonna have police officers, whole departments taken out because of this virus. Example is the city of Detroit had 1,000 officers of COVID-19. So we have put in things in place to protect the safety of our employees and to ensure that we continue to provide essential city services. It's been very successful, it has worked, and we haven't had, we've had one officer and we had one parks employee who've been exposed to COVID-19, and it has not spread beyond them. So it has been very effective. And so we will maintain that until we're able to safely reopen and provide more public governor services. So most of those things will start to wind down as we end the stay-at-home order part and move into sort of phase 2 and then phase 3. Let's see. Is the reassigned city staff going out to businesses upon request, or are they conducting, quote, inspections, unquote? So that's something we don't have the capability to go out and do a site visit on every single business in the city. So it will be a combination of things that we will do. Like I said, we're still working on that. So, and again, it's much more of a collaborative process. We want to make sure, A, that businesses are informed of the guidelines, making sure they are aware of them, and also, you know, if they have assistance, maybe, let's say, as far as interpreting some of them, but it's going to be kind of as needed as far as site visits. It's not going to be something that we're going to be doing. We just don't have the capacity to do everywhere, but we'll have that a little bit more clarified, hopefully next week. Okay. Let's see, what's up with Civic Field? So we did get some bids back from Civic Field. We should have some more information that we'll be able to share soon about that. The bids for Civic Field were very high, very, very high. So there's definitely some question marks as far as the future of Civic Field in terms of moving forward with that this year. But that's as much as I know at this point, and we'll definitely be talking about that more. So with that, I have currently no more questions that have been posed. I just got that message. So I will just conclude by saying thank you very, very much for participating, or at least listening to me and asking questions. But if those of you who have asked questions, appreciate your questions. Please keep the questions coming. It's real important that we get through this, and the only way we're going to get through this is if we're all sort of doing our part and doing what we can. So as best as you can, please make sure you're safe, make sure your people that you come in contact with are being safe, and we will be able to get through this hopefully sooner rather than later. I can't wait to be able to, you know, take my kids to the playground and play in the playground with them. I'm you know, just like you, I'm ready to dine in some restaurants and have a drink or two. But until that time, we really do have to be proactive and being safe and wearing a mask and keep your social distancing and wash your hands and all that stuff. I know you hear 1,000 times, and we're going to keep saying it because it works. It really does work. And so keep it up. Thank you for everything you're doing for our community, and be safe. Bye-bye.